we said, okay, now we need some really, really hot players for this one to come alive. When we asked Brad, he said, why don't we ask Tommy and Rudy? We haven't played together since Ozzy. And I said, okay, so let's try it. And the rest is history.
Rock, metal, prog, and everything in between. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
Hey, Rick, good to make your acquaintance.
Likewise, I'm really happy to be with you right now.
I was thinking about this earlier as I was doing some research on you. I'm one of the older guys. I played Saints and Sinners on the radio.
That was quite a band. I had some fun with that.
Yeah, and that was in 1992. And boy, I'll tell you what, that kind of music and that genre really took a beating just shortly after that. It was kind of a bad time to release a record like that, huh?
Oh yeah, it was. It was, yeah.
With everything with the grunge scene coming in, but man, those are great memories for sure. And now you got Redemption that drops tomorrow. As I talk to you today, that comes out on October 24th. So tell me about Redemption.
Well, it's been a long time coming. I'm the kind of guy that doesn't wait for stuff to happen. So I've been keeping really, really busy since Saints and Sinners, and I mean good busy. I've been doing TV shows. Back to what you just said about 1992 and the grunge scene and all that stuff. It was, I guess, like they say, you don't stop progress. It was something. It was progressing into something different, and I was fine with that because back then I've been touring for like 10 years, and I just had two. My daughter was born in 89 and my son in 92. So comes 93 with the grunge and everything, I had to pull away from it. So I got jobs here in Montreal, like a hired gun for TV shows. I did that for 10 years. So it brought the bread and butter, and it kept my voice very, very, very up there. And I did some musical for another 10 years. So I've been working my voice, the entertainer, since then. I never stopped.
Yeah, and it's like, the old saying, if you do what you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. And of course, I come to work every day. I'm fortunate for the past 35 years. There's not a day that goes by where I'm like, I don't feel like going to work every day. And I guess I'm lucky in that aspect, probably like yourself.
I got the same philosophy. I'm a very, very, very go. I'm a happy guy, and my philosophy is that whatever you're doing, love what you're doing, and you'll be doing what you love. Whatever it is. I mean, cutting the go outside and washing the car. I don't rush it. I just I love being alive.
Well, washing a car. How many cars, by the way, do you have? Because before we started, you said you're kind of a car collector.
Well, no, I'm a collector. I got a couple of cars, a couple of guitars. I love old stuff. Mm-hmm. So I got an old Mustang, an old pickup truck. I got an old Corvette that I like to drive with a 454. but to come back to the Redemption album, I was saying, so when I did the last Sword album back in 2022. We did a couple of cool gigs. We did the tailgate party for Metallica when they were here at the stadium a couple of years back. We opened for Anthrax, the Black Label Society. We did some shows here in Quebec for Sword. So when that wave kind of started to drop down, I told my manager, I said, okay, it's time for a new solo record. So we started to work on that because, like I said, I love what I do. So I don't wait for things to happen. I just kind of make them happen.
And I mean, the obvious question, I'm sure you've answered this a million times, but how do you get the Ozzy Speak of the Devil lineup together?
Yeah, I owe it to Brad Gillis. I'm a big fan of Brad Gillis. I've always been. So when it was time to find some outside writer for the album, because I didn't want to be the one to write all the songs on the album. I wanted something outside the box, a riff that I wasn't not a guitar hero that I couldn't write myself. So my manager told me, Saints and Sinners, there you go. Jesse Bradman, who plays keyboard. So we called him and asked him if he had some song. He says, "Oh yeah, I've been working with Brad Gillis for a couple of years on some songs to pitch here and there." I said, "Can we hear it?" So we took two songs from Brad, and then became like a friendship with him. So when it was time to record The Real Me, we thought of a super group. We said, okay, let's ask Brad, because we already have him. Maybe he's gonna want to do it. So he said, yeah. And he came up with the idea when we said, and we're looking, he says, well, why don't we call Rudy and Tommy? We haven't been together since the Ozzy gig, so that'd be cool. So we made it happen, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I was hanging out with Brad earlier this summer, like in the middle of summer, and he's like, hey man, we're putting the band back together, get the song coming out and stuff. And he didn't really tell me too much about it. Then I saw him again here in Michigan when they played at a show. I don't know if you recall the one where Ted Nugent joined him up on stage. It was
I saw that. Yeah.
It was a private event for like 2,000 people. It was so cool to be there. But Brad's a great guy, super talent. And the first time I met him, he let me hold that classic guitar that he plays in the video as well, the one from Speak of the Devil.
There you go. Absolutely. And while we were shooting the video, he had the guitar and he was explaining what it was, because it was his baby, and he changed it over the years because he had this guitar all his life, for all of his life. If I recall, I think he said it's a 1965 guitar.
I want to say 62, but I think.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's the 60s. It's the 60s.
There you go. It's something old, right? Exactly. But yeah, that guitar just has such a great history and has such a great tone. And he comes out and he was playing it at that night. I saw him at with Night Ranger. That thing just sounds amazing.
I agree with you, and the tone has a lot to do with the player, because a guy like Brad, I guess he's going to pick up any guitar and it's going to sound amazing. It's like he's a maestro.
And that song you guys chose, The Real Me, to cover was it's really bass driven too, and to get Rudy on there, it's so cool. Why did you pick that particular song?
That's a good question. The reason is that I'm a big The Who fan and Zeppelin fan. What those two bands have in common is that if you listen to any Zeppelin song, any Who song, it's really, really easy to just listen to the drum, or just listen to the bass, or just listen to the guitar. It's not overproduced. Zeppelin and the Who, it's if you want to listen to Bonham, it's there. You just listen to him. It's not all intertwined and overproduced. So it was one or the other. So we went with the Who. And when we chose that song, we said, okay, now we need some really, really hot players for this one to come alive, So when we asked Brad, he said, yeah, do it. And we said, and we want to find like a super group, the guys that would play with. He says, why don't we ask Tommy and Rudy? We haven't played together since Ozzy. And I said, okay, so let's try it. And the rest is history.
Had you met Tommy or Rudy before?
No, it was when, these guys, Rudy and Tommy and Brad, Tommy and Rudy, for right now, we got a 10, 15 years difference in gap difference, So when I was 15 years old, I would go to the Montreal Forum, watch Whitesnake, watch Ozzy and Dio, and I would see them on stage because they were like 20, 30, So I would, not in my wildest dream, would I ever thought they would play on my album. So when they accepted to do it, I guess they checked me out because, if you play on somebody's record, you have to be in line with their music and their talent, I guess. So that was a big deal for me. But it was even a biggest deal when it came time to do a video, and that they accepted it do the video, because that's an even bigger deal when you think about it. Because the album was recorded like back in the days in the studio, Little Mountain Studio, with John Webster at the helm, and on drums we had Randall Stoll on drum and Tony Marriott on bass. So they recorded the core of the album, and all the rest is guys with their home studio doing their part, and then we blend it in, Mm-hmm. So my point is that once we had Rudy's part, we had Tommy's part, and we had Brad's part, we took the other parts away and put them in the song, and so there it is. So if we didn't have a video of that song, then I would have to explain to everybody, hey, by the way, you like our version of the real me, yeah? Can you hear who's playing the bass? Because it's not John Entwistle, it's Rudy Sarzo. But I don't have to explain it now, because they accepted to do the video, which is a bigger deal than doing just a track on an album when you think about it.
Yeah, that's hysterical. I never thought about that before. You could have put it out in the world without a video, and nobody would have known who would have been on it. That'd have been crazy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, the record comes out, like I said, tomorrow, October 24th, as I record this. Robby Krieger, by the way, is on it too, right?
Man, Robby Krieger, imagine that. The lead guitar for the Who. It's like he's
the Doors. Yeah.
The Doors. Think about that.
Yeah.
When I was 15 years old, I was like a lost ship. I had lost my dad. My dad died really young. He was 29 years old. He was a guitar player. My mom sang in his band. They were like that Johnny Cash, Jude Carter type of deal, And he died of an aneurysm to the brain suddenly. I was 8 years old. So by the time I was 12, 13, I had to go to work for my mom because she raised us on the waitress salary, Mm-hmm. So I had to go to work, and I was like a stranger in a strange land, because back in those days, if you didn't have a father, you weren't necessarily part of the gang, So when I started to listen to the Doors, it kind of broke the shell. I mean, Jim Morrison, the Lizard King, to me was a professor. I would understand what he was saying, and I could read between the lines, make my own stories, and I came of age by listening to the Doors when I was 15 years old. And now fast forward to today, I have Robby Krieger playing a track on my album. He starts the song. If you heard the song, he goes down, down.
Oh, that's him. Okay. I didn't know that was him. Okay.
Yeah, and you go, I know that sound. Yeah, that's Robby Krieger, man, with his SG in his own studio with his gear. That's the sound, man. That's the sound.
So did you tell Robbie this story that you just told me?
No, but one day I will.
Okay, you haven't had a chance to really kind of press the flesh and hang out with him, huh?
Well, when I did the video with Brad, Rudy, and Tommy, I was waiting on them. I was first arrived. It was shot in LA at Castle Studio in Burbank, state-of-the-art 3D technology. It's the only studio in the world that has that. So I was waiting on the guys. So Tommy got there first, and then Rudy, and then Brad, and they all of them were happy. It was like a party, everybody. And we had an all day. We had to film all day, So I kept saying to myself, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that asks the stupid question. Just hang with the boys and pretend that you've been part of their life for all their life, because we had to shoot a video. There was a live feed in Montreal where my manager, my producer, they were listening to it, because it was an important day for us. And we were getting ready. We were shooting the cameras and stuff. And so my girlfriend was there, and she says, Rick, your manager wants to talk to you. So I pick up the phone, and he says, okay, Rick, everything's going fine. Everything's okay. We're about to get the real stuff. Now, you look like a deer in front of a headlight. Please, we know you are starstruck, but you gotta get over it. I says, okay. Thanks for telling me. So I kind of just hang out with the boys, and and then everything went okay. So I guess when I finally meet Robby Krieger, I'll do the same thing. I won't be the guy that goes, "I was Jim Morrison." Everybody wants to know.
Yeah, that's
But
funny. I've met Brad. I'm friends with Brad. I actually texted him a little while ago. I'm like, hey, give me a question for Rick, but sometimes he's not real good with the texting and whatnot. Rudy could have been nicer. I've never met Tommy before, but I have to imagine that those guys probably made you feel pretty comfortable, right?
oh yeah, they're the best. I tell you, man, I couldn't. I feel so lucky, so grateful. They were so down to earth. Rudy's best bass player around. Tommy's best drummer around. Same for Brad. No, no, no. It doesn't show in their persona. They're just down to earth. It's only rock and roll.
Yeah, right. I was reading your bio earlier, and you got a chance to open up for a lot of bands and stuff. And you mentioned Ozzy before. How did the death of Ozzy affect you earlier this summer?
Well, it was one of there's yeah, it affected me quite a bit because he influenced me a lot. I mean, Ozzy, when you think about it, um, people when before his death, at least, when they were doing surveys and asking who is the best rock and roll singer that ever lived, you always get the same name, and Ozzy sometimes was not on the list because he was so bigger than life, his antic and I say that in a most respectful way because I loved everything about him. So people kind of forgot that he was a hell of a singer. I mean, if you listen to Diary of a Madman, Over the Mountain, Diary of a Madman, I mean, all the melodies and intricate, the way he changes his voice, and his voice is always full. Ozzy was one of the best rock and roll singer that ever lived.
Yeah.
That's why he became so big.
Yeah, no doubt. And I just finished reading his book, and he said very nice things about Brad and about Rudy and Tommy in his book as well. And then we just lost Ace Frehley. Were you a Kiss fan growing up?
Yes. Well, I'm a fan of rock music, so of course I grew up listening to Zeppelin mostly because back then, if you were a Zeppelin fan, you were not necessarily a Kiss fan because Zeppelin went natural. It's all about the music, and Kiss brought the glitter. They brought the wow effect to the show. So for the fans like me that were into Zeppelin and the Who, and it took a while before we recognized that there was makeup, there was the attire, the accoutrement and everything, but the music is amazing. Detroit Rock City.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Yeah, that's where we are, right? So what was it like growing up and you grew up did you grow up in Montreal, right? Is that where you grew up primarily?
I was born in Montreal, but when my dad died, my mom, like I said, that raised us alone on the salary of a waitress, had the good idea to take us away from town and to bring us in the country because we were very rowdy, a little bit. So I grew up on the south shore of Montreal, like an hour from Montreal.
All right. So what was it like when you were growing up? And you said you went and saw like Ozzy and stuff when you were a teenager and that. Did you have to drive like an hour to go see these shows? Was it like when you say pack a lunch and go see a concert or what was it like?
Yeah. Well, we formed Sword. We were friends from little school. So we formed Sword. I was 15. My brother was 16. The other guys were 15, 16 too. So we played bars from 15 years old to not bars, but I mean, we played gigs. And when we got the age to go play in the clubs, that we started to play, we did the club scene for years. And we had one car because we were kids. We were rock and rollers, everybody was broke that wanted to be musicians because all our money was going into equipment.
Right.
So we had a Sword mobile. We called it, it was a big Thunderbird, 1977, that a friend of mine had, and the car was a wreck because he went through a toll booth, and that's the story I heard. And didn't have money to pay the toll, and he scrapped both sides of the car, and then he got home, and then later on he lost the keys, so he had to break the thing, and you know, back then when you lost your key, you only broke it with a screwdriver. You would start the car. That was our car. So we would pack the car and we would go see Ozzy, you know, in Montreal, and let's go to Montreal. And yeah, man, that was something.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I grew up outside of Buffalo, like about a half hour or so. So we would just, you know, I guess pretty much doing the same thing, but we didn't have a sword mobile, that's for sure. But
you want to hear a very cool story about the sword mobile?
Okay.
we're in our 20s, and we just released Metallized, and it's all over the world, and we got rave reviews all over for the Metallized album, our first album. We released that in '86. So we're in the sword mobile, and we're always together, and we're listening to Master of Puppets all the time. It just comes out, and we go, wow, what an album, you know? And we keep listening to it and listening, not knowing that on the other side of the Atlantic, while on tour, Metallica was listening to Metallized.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
That's how we got the gig.
So you've met the guys from Metallica then? Oh,
yeah, sure did.
Wow.
Toured with them. And I mean, that was unreal. That was unreal. We just got back from doing something, and when we're we rented a house, and we were rehearsing in the basement of that house, and got the phone call from my manager, the manager at the time, that said, "Rick, I got a big news for you." I said, "What is it?" He said, "I just got a phone call from Metallica's management. They're coming to Canada, and they want you to open for them." My God. Wow. That was big. Yeah.
So this was 86, you said?
87. A year after. Yeah. The release. Yeah.
So they had just gotten off tour with Ozzy probably, and then went on their own tour.
This is going to get a bit gloom and doom. The tour was postponed twice. So there was TV advertisement, Metallica, Sword, coming to Montreal. And it was on the TV and everything. And then my manager calls me, says, "Rick, bad news. The tour is postponed. James broke an arm doing skateboard."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Seriously. So it was postponed for a month or two. Then a month after that, the ad started again on TV. "Coming to Montreal, Metallica, Sword." And then we get the phone call that Cliff had died on tour. So it was postponed twice.
Wow.
So when we toured with them, is when that happened. Just when they started to tour back again, when they kind of mourned, because they didn't have much time to mourn him, I guess, because I felt when I was with them, I felt that they were still like in shock.
And when they just played Montreal a couple of years ago, did you open up one of the shows, or did you play on that day off?
Yeah, well, we started the whole thing. It was at the Montreal Stadium, and we received an offer to do what they called the Metallica tailgate party.
Okay.
So when people were arriving, they set up a stage where people arrived on a Sword concert.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, they played in November, so they probably wouldn't have done that here just simply because of the weather. There was tailgating and stuff, but yeah, that was in November. Almost 2 years ago now, 2023. Is that when you were doing in 2023?
Yeah, and here it was in August.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Rick, we'll give a good plug here to Redemption. Like I said, that comes out tomorrow on October 24th. And next time you're in Detroit Rock City, you have to come by and say hello.
I'm sure will, and thank you so much for giving me the time to talk to you. And I want to invite your listeners to give a good listen to Redemption. It's an album about hope and peace, and you know, it's I'm really proud of it. There's not a song on it that is not optimistic about life and such.